What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. Another weekend has come and gone, and it is once again time to talk those juicy box office numbers. That's right, we have a whole slew of good stuff to go over this weekend. It was an epically great weekend here at the box office with the return of one spectacular franchise in Creed. We've got the release of Creed 3 this weekend, and we're going to dive into all that good stuff and see just how well that movie did and how well the top 10 did for the box office this weekend. As always, we kick off looking at our overview for the 2023 box office weekend. It was week 9 of the year. We're looking at March 3rd to March 5th. We take a look here at the chart, and if we look here in week 9, we have once again our third weekend so far in 2023 where we had a $100 million weekend. We did $112 million this weekend, which is plus 26.9% over the previous weekend of only $87 million. So it was an epically great weekend here for us at the box office. Anytime we can get a weekend over $100 million is absolutely great for the box office in and of itself. And it was buoyant by some great holdover titles, an excellent new title. It was a wondrous time here at the box office. So we're going to waste no time. We're going to dive right into that top 10 right now, and we're going to take a look at that juicy good old chart that we love to see called that top 10 goodness. And in first place is a franchise best, not only for Creed 3, but it is a best total for sports movies in general. Creed 3 this weekend, the number one movie in America with $58 million off of a $75 million budget. $58 million for the weekend is good enough not just to be just a franchise great start for Creed 3, but it is the highest grossing opening for a sports theme related movie, bar none. I think the previous holdover, I think, was the Karate Kid remake from 2020. I think did about 52 million. So this is huge for the sports genre, huge for Creed. It's absolutely epic. I saw the movie over the weekend. It is a lot of fun. It is a great, entertaining movie. Obviously, for me personally, not my favorite one of the franchise, but it's still an absolutely epically great franchise caper. If we don't end up getting another one, I'm sure there'll be another one down the road, because when are you ever going to leave this kind of money on the table? But even if this was the end of the franchise, this was an epic high to go out on. Absolutely fantastic directorial debut for Michael B. Jordan, and they must be super proud of all the returns they're seeing. Obviously, the big caveat for me is there was no Rocky, a man who was just integral to this franchise, so that was a shame to not see him in there. But still an absolutely epic win for Creed 3, for Michael B. Jordan, for the Studio United Artists releasing. It is just great time to be a Creed/Rocky fan. In second place is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in its third week, dropping, oh my fucking god, another 61%. Last week had the worst drop-off ever for a Marvel movie, week 1 to week 2, with just about 70%. And here we are, week 3, it drops another 61%. It takes in $12 million to bring its total domestic haul to $186 million off of a $200 million budget. So this movie is vastly falling and crumbling under the weight of other stuff consistently coming out now, and it's only going to get worse as we continue to go on and more big movies come out, and this movie gets lost in the shuffle. It's crazy to see we're at a spot here with Ant-Man and the Wasp that Marvel might not be as sure thing as it once was, because you look right there in third place, Cocaine Bear in its second week drops 52.6%, but it was pretty close to taking the second spot over Ant-Man and the Wasp. It took in $11 million, just about $1 million shy of passing Ant-Man and the Wasp to do number 2 at its second week. So it is crazy how neck and neck it has been for these Marvel movies, especially right now with Quantumania here at the box office. But Cocaine Bear in its second week takes in $11 million to bring its total domestic haul to $41 million off of a $30 million budget. Universal is the absolute king so far in the last few months of just making mid-sized, modest budget hits. It did it in December with Violent Night. It did it in January with Megan, and now it has another one up its sleeve right here with Cocaine Bear. Universal is absolutely gunning this year. In fourth place, debuting new, is the next Demon Slayer movie. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce that subtitle, but it takes in $10 million of a budget that we have no idea. The first Demon Slayer was the highest grossing movie of 2020, albeit considering it was one of the only movies that actually was able to get released and do any business. But we're sitting there pretty now with Demon Slayer. Was once upon a time one of the biggest ones in the movie. It was the stalwart for anime fans to come and check out. So I was very curious to see how this one is going to do. It looks like it's going to end up being like all the other anime anime movies that have come out since the first Demon Slayer, since we've opened up post-COVID, where it just does a modest size hit. It gets into the top 5. It does a week or two or a couple of weeks in the top 10, making some money, and then it bows out after only a couple of weeks. This one might bow out a lot sooner, considering there's just so much shit coming out in March that it's going to be, you really got to get in and make your money up front, because everyone's going to be vying for positioning, especially here in the top 5. So this one might actually end up bowing out a lot sooner than some of the other ones, but still a good little size chunk of them for themselves there. Crunchyroll with another solid top 5 performance from an anime movie. And rounding out the top 5 is Jesus Revolution in its second week, dropping 45.4%. It takes in $8 million to bring its total domestic haul to $30 million off of a $15 million budget. Another mid-sized hit here. It is amazing to see that the mid-budget movie is making a return post-COVID. We take a look here at the back 5. Avatar: The Way of Water in 6th place for the first time in its 12 weeks outside of the top 5. It's in 6th place, dropping 26.4%. Still takes in $3.5 million, brings its total domestic haul to $670 million off of a $460 million budget. In 7th place is Operation Fortune: Ruse de Gueux, debuting here in the chart. You never want to debut outside of number 1. You never want to debut, especially outside of the top 5. But here is Operation Fortune debuting in 7th place, takes in $3 million off of a $50 million budget. So this movie was pretty much sent out to die. I was saying that it was pretty much getting dumped there and was going to try to make whatever it can, and it shows that this movie is going to probably end up joining another movie that we're going to see in a few spots here on this list as one of the box office bombs of 2023. In 8th place, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish in its 11th week, drops 34%. Still takes in $2.7 million, despite being on physical media release this past week, despite being on streaming to watch. This movie still took in almost $3 million. It brings its total domestic haul to $177 million off of a $90 million budget. Much like Avatar, just absolutely incredible legs that these two movies have had. It's fucking incredible to have seen this performance from the two of them. In 9th place is Magic Mike's Last Dance in its 4th week, dropping 58.7%. It takes in about $1 million to bring its total domestic haul to $25 million off of a $45 million budget. So just absolutely just pitiful performance there. This might end up joining the list of the box office bombs of 2023 when all is said and done. And rounding us out in the top 10 is 80 for Brady in its 5th week, dropping 55.6%. Takes in about $845,000 to bring its total domestic haul to $38 million off of a $28 million budget. Now, as always, we like to take a look here at our worldwide and our domestic grosses for the year. We're still charting along with some in 2022, thanks to some holdover titles like Puss in Boots and Avatar: The Way of Water. So as always, we first off kick here with the top 10 worldwide of 2022. We go to the chart here, and right there in first place is Avatar: The Way of Water, and it is just continually just racking up dollar after dollar after dollar. It sits right now at $2.281 billion. Just absolutely phenomenal to see there. And then we take a look here at our top 10 worldwide for 2023. We have Full River Red still in first place with $664 million. The Wandering Earth 2 with $583 million. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania worldwide has at least been able to make $419 million there. It needs to make as much as it can here to try and give itself at least a little bit of making its money back. It was a $200 million budget before marketing, before anything else. So it looks like this movie probably has to make somewhere in between 5 and 6 to break even, to make some money. It'll probably get there. I'm sure even with the dearth of movies coming out, it's still going to make a few $100 million more dollars, but it's definitely not going to be the absolute big, huge winner that Marvel was hoping for with all these movies, especially when you're dropping $200 million each movie. This is not the kind of return that you want on that investment. In fourth place is Boonie Bears with $212 million. Megan rounds out the top 5 with $173. Hidden Blade is at $136. Deep Sea got $129. Python with $125. Debuting on the chart in 9th place is Creed 3 with $100 million. And in 10th place is Chubarashka with $89 million. I'm sorry if I continue to pronounce that wrong. Hopefully it'll be bowing out of the top 10 soon so I can stop butchering that title. And we look there at the bottom for what is dropped out is 500 miles miles. Thank you for your time in the top 10. And now, as always, we also take a look here on our domestic front. We start with the top 10 domestic for 2022 because we're still charting along with Avatar: The Way of Water. But something that I missed out on last weekend that I wasn't paying attention to, but I corrected myself for this weekend, is the fact that Puss in Boots has quietly earned itself up into the top 10 for the domestic of 2022. I was charting along so much with Avatar and its journey to try and get over Top Gun that I completely forgot about the fact that Puss in Boots was making so much money that it knocked another title out of the top 10 to join the top 10. So we go here now to the chart and we take a look at this bad boy. If you look all the way at the bottom, Puss in Boots has now knocked out Black Adam to take the 10th spot in the top 10 domestic for 2022 with 177 million. Will it have enough to get itself ahead of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 before it bows out? I don't know. I think we might finally be seeing the end of Puss in Boots' reign, but just like Avatar, I wouldn't put it past this movie to have one last hurdle in it to clear. But we look all the way up at the top now. Top Gun Maverick still sitting pretty with 718 million, but slowly trying to bridge that gap and overtake it is Avatar: The Way of Water, currently at 670 million. Now, much like Puss in Boots, I'd say this is probably where this movie is going to end, but if there was any movie that is going to be able to just continue to break records and continue to shove it in your face and say, yes, I fucking can, Avatar: The Way of Water is the movie to do it. So we're going to keep charting along with that and see where it ends. And then we take a look at our top 10 domestic for 2023. Ant-Man and the Wasp still in first place with 186 million. Megan in second with 94 million. Creed 3 debuting in third with 58 million. Cocaine Bear in fourth with 41 million. 80 for Brady in fifth with 38. Knock at the Cabin right behind that with 35. Plane with 32. Missing with 31. Jesus Revolution with 30. And Magic Mike's Last Dance bringing up the rear currently with 25 million. Now, as always, before we like to continue, we like to take a look at our fallen heroes. These are our heroes that did their time in the top 10, had their say, but now they've bowed out for greener passages. We have 3 movies this week that all got kicked out of the top 10, and we're going to take a look at them right now. We look right here at the chart. Knock at the Cabin, after 4 weeks on the chart, bows out. Missing, after 6 weeks on the chart, says adieu. And A Man Called Otto, after a staggering 9 weeks in the charts, bows out from the top 10. You guys did your time. You had your say. You made your money. We will see you on physical media release. And as always, we salute you. Now we turn to take a look at our highest worldwide grossers of all time. Not a quick change here. There's nothing changing. We're just looking at totals being added as we see week after week. We look real quick. Avatar: The Way of Water still holding strong in the third spot right now with $2.281 billion. Still a ways behind second place with Avengers Endgame with $2.7 billion. As I said, and as we've charted along with these movies ad nauseum, I think this is where Avatar: The Way of Water is going to end up settling for as the third highest grossing movie of all time. But again, I would never put it past Avatar to just quietly keep making money, but I think it's safe to say that Avatar: The Way of Water is going to be the third highest grossing movie of all time. And then we take a look quickly at our highest domestic grossers of all time. This is a spot where Avatar: The Way of Water still has a little bit more wiggle room. We take a look here quickly. If you look down at the bottom of the chart, Avatar: The Way of Water is holding strong in 9th place right now with 670 million, but just ahead of it, only 4 million away, is Titanic with 674. So I think it's all but possible that Avatar: The Way of Water can pass Titanic when all is said and done. The question will be, after that, does it have another 4 million in it to pass Avengers: Infinity War at 678? And then after that, does it have anything left in the tank to get to the 700 million mark? Again, I keep saying it. I don't think it'll get there, but Avatar: The Way of Water has shown that it will continue to do James Cameron shit, and that is defy expectations, and that is to continue to make a gargantuan amount of fucking money. So anything is possible. We will keep watching along here. Now, before we bid adieu, we have one last chart to take a look at, and that is our 2023 chart riders. That is where we look at all of the movies that have spent the most amount of time in 2023 in the top 10 charts, just to see what was the movie that had the best legs for 2023. We take a look here at the chart right now. In first place, actually tied for first right now, is Avatar: The Way of Water and Puss in Boots, both locked in right now, 9 weeks in the top 10 for 2023. Right behind it in third place is A Man Called Otto at 8 weeks. You see the asterisk right next to there because A Man Called Otto has now bowed out of the top 10. So unless it makes a nice big comeback and jumps back into the top 10, 8 weeks is going to be locked in for A Man Called Otto. Still very good performance, very great legs for that movie, for a nice mid-sized budget movie like that to hang around for that long in the top 10. Absolutely spectacular performance. Right behind that, tied is Megan and Missing, both locked in at 6 weeks. They have bowed out of the top 10 for a few weeks now. Well, Missing just dropped out. Megan's been out for a couple of weeks now. So these we're going to lock in here at 6 weeks. Plane right behind that, locked in at 5 weeks. And then right behind that, tied for it with Plane, is 80 for Brady right now at 5 weeks. Knock at the Cabin, which came out the same week as 80 for Brady, looks like it's going to bow out now with 4 weeks here locked in at the charts. It bowed out of the top 10 this previous week, while 80 for Brady was still hanging strong in the 10th spot. We'll see if 80 for Brady ends up bowing out next week or if it's able to knock up one more week in the top 10. Knock at the Cabin is tied right now with Magic Mike's Last Dance for 4 weeks, but Magic Mike is another one that I think is going to end up getting locked in at 4 weeks. I would say next weekend with the release of Scream, with the release of 65, of Champions, that we're going to look at a couple of these titles that are going to end up saying goodbye to the top 10 and will now get locked in. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is sitting pretty right now at 3 weeks, and then right behind that, tied with 2 weeks apiece, is Cocaine Bear and Jesus Revolution. So we will continue to chart along with these ones and see just how well they will go and how far these movies, what movies are going to have the best legs, what's going to continue to stay into the top 10 and defy expectations and just have an absolutely stellar performance here at the box office. But that'll do it for all of us here in this adventure of the box office report. It was a stellar fucking weekend and absolutely just spectacular performance from Creed, just a record-breaking performance from Creed 3. Absolutely amazing to kick off March. March is absolutely, we've talked about it so much, how stacked March is, and it's only going to get crazier from here. Creed 3 out this weekend, just stupid amounts of money, and then now right on its heels is Scream 6 coming to try and take first place from it. Right now the estimates say Scream 6 is going to be the #1 movie here for the weekend, and I could see it happening too. People are clamoring for this movie, people are ready for this movie. The question is going to be is how well will Creed 3 do in second place? What is Ant-Man going to be able to do? Is it going to hold on and stay in third place, or is it going to end up finally being knocked off by Cocaine Bear or maybe 65 or Champions if any one of those ones overperform? It is an absolutely amazing time right now to watch here at the box office. It's going to be stellar to see all of these titles continue to duke it out for the top 5 position, for the #1 position week over week, to see if anything ends up underperforming, overperforming, any just upsets. March is one of the most exciting times that we've had in a long time here at the box office, and I look forward every week to charting along and seeing where the numbers lie. But that'll do it for all of us here at the Outpost today. Until the next adventure, you have been you, I have been me. These are the movies that we love so much, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.